come on. We're almost there. This is the waterfall I wanted to show you. It's perfect, Joy exclaimed to Lauren as they approached the Tower Falls in Yellowstone. The two were longtime friends and remained that way ever since high school, and have grown closer and closer ever since. Little did they know, something was following them. Something grizzled and mysterious. A silent hunter. This is it. It's beautiful, just like you, Joy shyly confessed as she anxiously looked into Lauren's excitable, intrigued hazel brown eyes. The forestry surrounding them was breathtaking. The smell of pine and fresh water, and the roaring sound of the falls filled the atmosphere. Lauren crouched down and cupped her hands into the waterbed. The cold, crystal-clear water felt refreshing against her skin as she wiped down her thighs and arms after getting vexed and sweaty from the long hike. The bear gazed at the young women, raising its massive snout into the air and filling its lungs with the fine aromas it picked up from the unknowing trespassers. What began as a pleasant, friendly hike to Tower Falls ended up being a nightmare in the day. What's up, guys? Iceman here. So this story is about a very unfortunate encounter a pair of young women had with a grizzly bear. But I warn you, it's quite harrowing. And before I get into it, I'd like to thank you all for your support on this channel. And if you will, like the video, subscribe to the page, and pull that bell so you're notified next time I post a video. And if you want to support me further, you can become a channel member or a patron. Links in the description below. So let's get into this chilling tale. The bear chewed on Joy's leg. Why is it doing this to me? I thought I was supposed to play dead, Joy thought to herself. The snarling creature made its way up her thigh, ripping through the flesh and into the bone. She tilted her head to the side and gazed up at the giant creature. Its hulking, grizzled body towered over her, with its neck and head hanging low, making a feast out of her leg. Oh my god, I'm going to die, Joy thought to herself. She laid completely still, as she was told, listening to the crunching of her bones and the tearing of her flesh. The bear would occasionally yank on her, effortlessly dragging her body across the dirt. But then, out of nowhere, she heard an almost battle cry of a sound. The bear, still standing atop Joy, lunged its massive head around to see the commotion. Instantly, a large rock came crashing onto its head, along with Lauren's frail body. The rock smashed into 3 pieces, one of the pieces smashing Joy's elbow as it crashed into the ground. Lauren's body ragdolled on top of the disturbed grizzly bear. The hulking creature then turned to her and tackled her into the ground and began viciously mauling her. It was at this point when Joy reached into her athletic short pocket and squeezed tightly her keys, which had attached to them a small can of Saber pepper spray, which unfortunately was made to deter humans, not bears. She agonizingly struggled to her feet, and there, only 5 feet in front of her, was a 450-pound grizzly bear on top of her closest friend and companion. The massive hump on its back swayed in the air as the creature thrashed Lauren back and forth, side to side, and at one point, wrapping its jaws around her shoulder and flinging her 10 feet, only to charge at her again and continue mauling her. It was like the bear was fighting for its life, as though it felt as if its life were threatened for some reason. Joy nervously grasped the small can of pepper spray, aiming it at the bear and her dying friend. She shouted at the bear, but it ignored her. She shouted again, but nothing. She grabbed a stick and threw it at the animal, striking it in the shoulder. The bear instantly reacted, turning its focus to Joy, who had readied the small can of pepper spray. It didn't have to be like this. The young women knew where they were going. They've heard stories of grizzly bears attacking others, but surely they thought it wouldn't happen to them. How could it? Why would it? Why would the world, why would the universe, why would God allow for such a thing to happen? While bear attacks at Yellowstone are rare, the park averages about one bear attack per year. Joy and Lauren loved nature. They loved everything about it, and they loved each other. Their relationship was only beginning to blossom, and to them, the world was their oyster. The future ahead had so much pleasure and joy, peace and prosperity, or so they thought. A life free from the trappings of the normal way of being. A life free from obligations, from children, from careers, from the stresses and toils of life. Joy and Lauren enjoyed themselves a bit too much. Their lives were perfect. They always wanted to visit Yellowstone together, to hike through the trails and enjoy nature. Their 10-year high school reunion was just around the corner, and they couldn't wait to share with their class the fact that they're still a team, still a duo, still together. Joy unleashed the thin stream of inadequate deterrent. It was like a small squirt gun, the thin stream, making contact with the bear's skull, a trail of mist following behind it, encompassing the area of impact. The bear stared at her while taking the spray to the face. It huffed and coughed and choked for about a moment, and as if it were confused over the matter, it continued to stare at her, and the mauling ceased for a moment. Lauren, still under the bear, choked and gagged from the growing red cloud. She flipped over onto her belly, puking from the trauma and the mucus buildup in her throat. Joy emptied the can, and, bewildered when it ran out, futilely threw it at the bear. It bounced off of its skull, and as if out of anger, the bear charged her, tackled her to the ground, and began mauling her, clenching its jaws around her skull and thrashing her side to side, tearing gaping wounds into her scalp and ripping hair out. It was as if time stood still. Joy remembered the scene of the powerful animal digging into her. It was as if the pain ceased, almost like an out-of-body experience, and her consciousness began to fade. Lauren, bloodied and partly blinded, rose to her feet. A sort of anger and hatred filled her, and she began shaking with rage. Without even thinking, she charged the bear while it was attacking her beloved friend. She jumped on top of its back, climbed to its hump, and began digging her fingernails into its flesh and hide. The bear gave out a loud bellow, as if it were shocked by the endeavor. The screaming, terrified young woman ripped into the creature, reaching toward its face and gouging at its eyes. The bear lunged from side to side like a bull, trying to get the woman off its back. She clung to it with all her might and managed to shove her index finger into its right eye socket. It was like pressing into a hard mold of clay, and she thrusted her finger as deep as it would go and twisted it around within. The bear, in seeming shock and agony, managed to buck her off its back. Lauren crashed into the ground, and she knew it, that moment, that she was going to die. The bear stood on all fours, gasping for wind, its gaping jaws wide open with saliva dripping from them. It looked over at Lauren's mangled body, and then over to Joy, and then it looked back to Lauren again, and then away from both of them, toward the trees. It began slowly backing up, breathing heavily. Lauren begged and hoped and prayed that the creature would leave. It huffed as it continued to back up, and even swatted at the ground once or twice, kicking up dust and dirt. It lunged at them and swatted the ground again, but only to back up, as if it were making sure that the threats were neutralized. And somehow, miraculously, the animal disappeared into the trees. Joy was too mangled to stand up. Lauren, out of desperation, clenched Joy with all her strength. She promised her that she would get her out of this, that she would get her to safety, that they would live. Lauren ended up hiking the 10-mile trail back to their vehicle. She staggered and fumbled and tripped on the way, but made it. She contacted authorities at the lodge, and instantly a search party made their way out to retrieve Joy. Miraculously, the young women survived the attack with, albeit a few scars and life-altering wounds. But from that point on, they revered the animals of Yellowstone and made sure to never take anything for granted again. The bear, estimated to be about 400 pounds, was never found. It was uncertain whether the bear was a female or a male, or the age of the bear, or the reason as to why it attacked. Some speculated it was startled on the trail. Some speculated it was a hungry bear, but ended up realizing it wasn't worth the fight to get a quick snack. Some speculate it was a mother defending her cubs, but whatever the case, the bear was left alone and is still out there. Jeez, what do you guys think about this story? It's quite a heroic thing for a friend or partner to save another friend or partner. There's always that joke that goes around where if you can run faster than your friend, you're good when it comes to a bear attack. But from my time on this channel and the observations that I've made, it seems like that when it comes down to it, a lot of people are willing to put their lives on the line for a friend or family member. This isn't the first time I've covered a situation where someone jumps on top of a bear in order to save their friend. And what a heroic thing that is indeed. But let me know in the comments below, do you have any friends who you think you'd do the same for? Would you really dare jump on top of a raging bear in order to save them? Because in such a situation, you'd probably be able to escape if you wanted to. But I'm curious what you guys have to say about this sort of situation and what you would do. Or what if it were your wife or husband or significant other? Would you do what Lauren did? Or do you think you'd turn and run? Or would you just play dead? Try to be honest with yourself, if you will, because I'm really curious to see what you'll have to say about this. But nonetheless, I really appreciate your support on this channel, and blessings to my channel members and patrons for making these videos possible. And I will talk to you all soon with more chilling tales from the Iceman.